Welcome. Just waiting for some people to connect to audio. And then we can start. So, welcome all to the last colloquium of the ReGEN4all project. We have been together for the entire year. Many of you were around to co-create the ReGEN4all project. It's a project on ecovillage research and how we can weave it together with education, with to inform policy making, and how we can really use ecovillage research and make it visible and useful for all of us. I'm glad to be here with many people that I know from the Gen Research Circle. Thanks for coming. Some new people, some project partners. This project is a partnership between Gen Europe, Ecovillage, the University Institute of Lisbon, and also LOIS, the Danish Ecovillage Network. And today, our topic is ecovillage impact, and we are going to bring it from very different perspectives. We will have our dear Rebeca Roysen, that many of you know from the Gen Research Circle. She's a researcher at the University of Basel, studying ecovillage transitions, and she will share more very soon. She's also a Brazilian ecovillager. We're happy to introduce you Margarita Hamatsu. Margarita is a partner in many Gen projects around education, teachers trainings, and how to bring the ecovillage approach into schools. She's from Iceland, now calling from Japan. She was also part of the Gen representatives at COP28 in Dubai, in this greening schools area. And we are very glad to welcome Steffen Emrich. Steffen is part of gASTWERKe, you have to correct me, an ecovillage in Germany. He's also a member of Gen Germany, Gen Europe, very active, working in different scales. So they are going to share their experiences and reflections on ecovillage impact. I hope you are all well. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to hand over to all of them, and maybe you can briefly introduce each other, and then we start with the presentations. I will start with you, Rebeca, as you are also part of the project, just to briefly introduce yourself and your topic, and then you hand over to Margarita and Steffen.
Okay. Well, my name is Rebeca. I am currently coordinating a research project at the University of Basel in Switzerland. And the project is called Ecovillages as Incubators for Sustainability Transitions, EVIST. And yeah, I've been studying ecovillages for more than 10 years. And I also live in an eco-village now. I'm in Switzerland, but my house is in an eco-village in Brazil. And I'm also part of the Gen Research Group. And I'm very interested in the role of grassroots innovations and grassroots movements in sustainability transitions. That is what I'm really passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you. Margarita, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Margarita. I am from Japan, but I'm located in Iceland, and I've been living there for about 16 years. I'm a school teacher, and also I run a little organization dedicated to sustainability and regenerative education. Right now, I am working on a project, many projects, but one of it is my final thesis. I am studying early childhood education, and I decided to dedicate my final thesis to writing about competence of teachers about sustainability education. So I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I'm calling now today. I'm calling from Tokyo.
Thank you, Margarita. Stefan.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Steffen. Very glad to be here today. I come from the famous town of Escherode, part of Stauffenberg in the middle of Germany. It's a very small village and we have a nice community here with around 50 people. I have the chance to introduce my community to you a little bit later. I can say I'm a long-term Gen activist, currently serving the National Steward Council and co-founder of the German network and quite active on different levels. For the last couple of years, I was also in the board of Gen Europe. I'm a community advisor. I work for communities, and my professional background is city and regional planning. And I worked for the last 20 years in development aid, so quite a big mix, but now focusing on communities. And I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we'll have a very rich conversation, bringing together the community approach, the networking approach, also Ecovillage research and education. So Margarita, I will invite you to be the first one to start. She will have some time to present, and then we will open for questions, and then we move on to Stefan and Rebeca, and then we can all discuss together. Thank you so much for being with us. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'll start by putting up my this. Let's go to the first one. Oh. So here we go. So I hope everyone can see these.
Yes, now
Okay.
it's good.
Amazing. Thank you again. Okay, I will. So I introduced briefly myself and I don't remember. I'm sorry for I haven't been having a jet lag. I have now and then also jet lag and language lag from moving my position from Iceland to Dubai to Iceland to Japan for the last 2 weeks. So I'm trying to really stand and regulate myself. But today I would like to speak about my thesis, and yeah, I've been a very active. Besides this project and other projects, I've been very active member of Global Ecovillage Network. It started in 2015. Me and my family moved to an eco-village in Iceland. They're called Solheimar Ecovillage and have lived there for 6 years. And since then, since we moved, I've been a very active member of Global Ecovillage Network, International and Europe as well. So about the project. I'm a school teacher and currently working in kindergarten in Iceland while running our little organization called Adventures for Students, as you see the logos there. So after moving out of the eco-village, I started working in the kindergarten, and because it gave me a lot of time to do other projects working. And I'm not so bonded with just being a kindergarten. I'm not saying because in kindergarten you work with other practitioner, you can always leave when you need to, at least in Iceland or at least in my kindergarten. They let me do the things that I need to do. So it's very important. But since I started working in a kindergarten, I had really wanted to learn more about the early childhood education. So I decided to take up another master, and also at the end, I really wanted to do research regarding the teachers' capacity and knowledge about sustainability education. So let me just introduce myself first more. So what I do in Iceland is, besides teaching, I also run this little, since moving out of Ecovillage, I really missed, or my family really missed being in a community. So we started a little organization dedicated to regenerative education, where we now run a little camp in Iceland, as well as we also not only in camp, but during wintertime and other season in Iceland, we do other projects outside the camp. So our organization is, our objective is to bridge the abstract concept of sustainable development goals and their practical, their practicality to our real world, to apply it. And one of the things, like, we would like to be an organization that ensuring that the SDG is not just a policy or document, that it has an impact to people. Yeah, so we're doing a lot of little projects here and there. So that's the thing I do outside teaching in kindergarten. Now, since we're talking about children and what is the impact on community and what is it about, I want to tell us a little story. So there's this 3 picture here from our 3 projects. We have different projects throughout there, but I thought there's something really common within this picture. So I want you all to focus on the middle picture, where a little boy who doing a meditation. I think that's what he's doing. So this is my student last year, and during as an eco-villagers and a trained trainer for global eco-village education, I tend to apply this to my everyday life, or I apply it. So during in my classroom, I don't really let the children sleep or ask them to be in one place and just sleep. I tell them to just, after lunch, we just move around and find your spot and see and be quiet for 30 minutes. So I have a little timer, and they're just free to roam around the classroom, find their little spot. And after 2 or 3 months of doing this, they already find their space. Usually one person has their own favorite spot, and they always go there. So this little boy lost his spot, and he came to me really mad and said, "I lost my spot. I don't know what to do." See, he's really mad. I said, "So what can you do?" And then I didn't give him any answer. He just walked around, and then he found this thread, the white one, around his head. He put it around his head, and then found another thread and made a circle and put it in the middle of the floor, and sat down and did this for quite 10 minutes, I think, before the rest of the other kids copied what he's doing. So that's one story. And then there's another one here, youth leader. We did a workshop project with migrant children in Iceland. We applied for a grant and we got it. So this is a traineeship, youth traineeship for them. Here I also apply the Gen education. This is like training the youth to be leader of the next generation. The next generation, what I mean is migrant little ones. These are the children 16 to 19 years old. So what they did is we did a training, and they design a program, summer camp program for the little ones. So it was, for me, I just was there training the youth, and the youth did all the job the whole summer. And then here at the other side, Ukrainian Eco Camp in 2022. After the war, there's quite 350 children came to Iceland, and almost half of them are children that lost their parents. So our camp offered a camp for these children who lost their parents, and they stayed in the camp for a week. And at first it was like, "Are you crazy, Margarita? You're putting these kids a camp. They just came out of war." It's like, "No, I'm putting them in a nature." So what's common about these kids is that the space, their innate capability of making space. I just want to make that before I go to the recommendation. So I would like you to remember that creating space for children. So my thesis, let's go back there. I'm going to go back to the first thing. I just wanted to give you that, what we needed now as a teacher, what teachers needs to have in them. So my thesis. So the thesis is about, this is an action research, if you're familiar with that. It's the development of knowledge, competence on sustainability education among preschool teachers and other educators. So it's an research. I followed, wait, hang on here. So my research question is, how do educators and staff of Alfheimar preschool, I just focus in one preschool, cultivate their knowledge and competence in sustainability? So I have two sub-questions that I needed to answer for this research, like what are their comprehension, their proficiency about sustainability education, and how can they further enhance their capability? So Alfheimar, just to give you a background, is founded in 1983, and this is the oldest eco school in Iceland. They have one, like they have, the Green School. There's a program in Europe called the Eco School. It has a flag. It's quite famous. They have received 13 consecutive years this flag. So the school is, working on being an eco school. It has we have about 150 children, 43 teachers, and the kids are from 5 to 6 years old. So my journey is I followed almost 9 teachers, and 2 of them backed down during the process for 9 months. And I also recorded a lot of interviews. So I have 7 core participants who actively attended meetings, workshop, and field trips. And then 7 external participants in this research, including the headmaster and the division heads. So action research, this approach is commonly used to enhance work, to enhance your ability. That's why I instead of doing qualitative or quantitative, I chose to use this action research so I can see their development. And since the school is not, freshly, they're not transitioning from normal school to eco, they've been an eco school for quite a while. But the teachers are always changing. So that's always like a challenge for the school. So that's the research, what they call this word? I cannot find the word, type that I did for this one. And since, so one challenging thing about this research is the literature review. I couldn't find, there's not so many literature review about the competence of children about sustainable education, sustainability itself. Somehow there's lack of, in between. We have the curricula that says sustainability is supposed to be in a Nordic country. I'm not talking about the world, but in the global north, usually the sustainability SDG is part of the curricula, the national curricula. But then in a Nordic country like Iceland, Sweden, there's a gap, and there's no research in between. So I had problem finding literature on how to, when you're doing a research, you have to write so much about. So this is what my literature review is, just basically the historical evolution of sustainability and stuff like that. So I had to connect it with other things. So the research went to 3 cycles. The cycle 1 is mapping the knowledge of the children, of the teachers. So I asked the question, what sustainability? I only focus on these 2 questions. And the cycle 1, this is there. So just think about it. They are already working in an eco school. And our first cycle, this is the outcome. This is the words that came. I asked, what is sustainability? It's like recycling. That's all we know. It's, I don't know, So cycle 1, they're really disconnected. I call it disconnected because the data really strongly indicates a sense of uncertainty among the participants. They have insecurity and doubt, despite the fact that they're working in the eco. And then, so how can we enhance their capability? This is where the global Ecovillage network, this is the, the Ecovillage education comes in. So as a practitioner in GEN, I tend to use all the things that I know that I learned from GEN and apply it to things that I do. Also this one. So one of the things is that I planned many meetings and so on. So one of the things that I use is the GEN cards to create our conversation, to create the conversation around sustainability. So this is one of the plan. I had many plans throughout 9 months. So process plans, like, you know, I put in a short meditation before our meetings and ask them to reflect, and then I introduce them to the Gen play cards. Here's like some Plan J card is a very good tools. So this card is like it shows pillars of sustainability. It explores the beautiful world that we know already from our heart. It does a lot of things. So I use these cards quite a lot during our research. And the cycle 2, I see that the data is coming into the manifestation of learning community. You know, throughout our process, while using global Ecovillage network Gen cards and things that I've learned from Ecovillage, is I see that the group, it was manifesting a learning community throughout it. Yeah, so the evidence in cycle 2, I see the evidence of collaboration. So I wrote about something of collaboration. These teachers starts to collaborate with each other to learn about sustainability. And then cycle 3, you see that they evolve to from the theoretical to practical application of sustainability. And this is what I want to show you at the end, is that, so I see this process like this. It's like disconnected, connecting, connected throughout the process. In the beginning, you see their wordings like disconnected. They talk about, I ask the question, what is sustainability? They answer recycling, compost. They're not really sure. It's very on the surface. And then in the second cycle, I ask the same question at some point. We focus on this question, what is sustainability education? And they go like, it is not only about nature, it's others. There's more within it, you know. Then they start to recognize all these pillars and everything, and their connection with each other. And then I really like this one. When the connecting part came, it is all about awareness. And then the final cycle is when they are already connected to what is sustainability. So the connected is like, I really love this words, like, it is everything we do. So from the what is sustainable, from the recycling, their answer at the end is like, it is everything we do. It is life, connection, opportunities to grow. It is diversity. It is not what, it is why. So you can see the pattern of how they perceive and how they see sustainability education. So I have 3 points. The participants' exploration journey revealed that an evolving understanding throughout the research. So their understanding, evolved. And then in the beginning, they only perceive the sustainability as an environmental obligation, nothing else. They didn't connect it with social, economic, or any cultural. So the research stresses the significance of mindset, developing the mindset of teachers. I think I'm done with the time, Thaisa.
Yeah, you can wrap up.
Yes. So going back to that set, creating space. As a teacher and as a practitioner, we have to learn not to just give. We have to learn how to make a space. And I think what the Ecovillage design is giving out, looking at this research, is we are capable of giving space to both children, to any individual, or any practitioner in this field, or any field, I would say. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. And now we can open for questions, comments to Margarita. If there are. Ana Margarita, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Most of you already know me. I'm Ana Margarita from Isqueté in Portugal. Today I'm calling from Vienna, Austria, near the Stephansdom. I'm here for some work meetings and also to enjoy the Christmas vibe at the Christmas market. And I have Margarita. We met in person a few years ago. I wonder if you still remember me.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Yes, good. I remember you as well. I really enjoyed our time together. I have a question for you. I'm really interested in your research because I'm now coordinating a research project at EVIST on networks of regenerative community-led initiatives. And I would like to ask you, why did you use the concept of sustainability in your research when making the analysis of the learning project of the learning process within that community? Because it seems to me that what is happening goes beyond sustainability and has more to do with the regenerative approach.
Yes. So
like
now,
regenerating links between people and with nature. Thank you.
Yes. So a sustainability, well, how many years it came into our vocabulary in this world. And to be honest, in the mainstream world, we are eco-villages. We know sustainability. We know it goes beyond that. But in the mainstream education, mainstream sustainability is still something that, overwhelming for many people. So
Right.
I needed to use this word to really connect them to what's behind the sustainability itself before we can introduce the regenerative education to them. Because
okay,
in the beginning, if you ask them about sustainability, as in the beginning of even in university, my professors, I was like, what is I was talking about regenerative education in the beginning. They're like, what is that?
oh right, I see.
It's not. I have a feeling, just according to research, I don't know, I haven't read about what's behind the regenerative education, but I think is that our community, the world, is not yet ready for the new word unless we introduce what's behind the sustainability. And as I said, there's not much research done about it. There's not much there's a lot of research about sustainability, but not a lot of research about teachers' knowledge and competence. I have difficulties finding a research about has anyone done a research about our practitioners, our public school teachers' knowledge about SDG or about sustainability itself, the word itself. What is it? It's overwhelming for everyone.
Actually, I have a student at EVIST who just defended a master's thesis on that topic. She defended it last week.
Oh, great!
And it was also, the whole process of, and she did a research at a high school at a public high school with an art-centered curriculum, which became famous because the kids actually occupied a high school to protest against the lack of action from the part of the Portuguese state regarding climate change and the lack of implementation of climate change agreements. And so she wanted to understand why what empowered those kids to do that. And the whole process of doing that thesis was a soap opera, believe me. She had to change her focus because she had to deal with a lot of ethical issues because all those kids are minors and so on. And then there were questions of privacy because at that school, like a huge percentage of kids identify as trans or non-binary, and that's also a controversy. And then there were the parents and the teachers and so on. But she ended up doing a very interesting thesis about process. If you want, I can put you in touch with her. And I would love, and if you can email me your slides, I would love to. Do you still have my email address?
It will be available on the project platform, the presentation and the recording of the session today.
Excellent, good to know. Yeah, but it's
Margarita, I still remember where I met you. I met you in Tallinn, in ambassadors meeting. Yes.
No, it wasn't in Tallinn. It was somewhere else. In Italy, yes, it was in Italy. Exactly. It was in Italy at the GEN gathering in Bagnaia. But anyway, it sounds very familiar. It's a question of mainstreaming new concepts.
Exactly.
I feel for you. I know the struggle, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you,
Margarita. I will open the floor for one more question, and then we move on. Ayobin, is that how I should
Yeah,
take your
it's Evie. I'm Evie. Nice to see you all.
name? Thank you.
I'm sorry I missed the start of the meeting. I hope I haven't missed any other speakers. But I really enjoyed that, Margarita, because we've had the same journey with Jen, and I just love how you're applying it. And I have an interface like in a parliament with the education system, with teachers, and this is really the stage that we're at as well. And I completely agree with you that it's the term sustainability that we need to make sure that that is landing properly with people, and holistically across across like all of our departments, that people understand that we're talking about only using the resources that are available to us just now and not mortgaging future the resources for future generations. And the way that you have connected your teachers to the knowledge that they actually do have, and given them security in that, and giving them confidence to go forward is really inspiring. I'm really pleased that I was able to make it onto this meeting, and I hope eventually that you'll come along and meet the committee here. I think that would be really amazing. There's lots of teachers like want this kind of material as well, and want that confidence. And over the pandemic, they tried to make more and more of the curriculum accessible outdoors, and connect the children more and more with nature, and that helped a lot with kids' anxiety and all kinds of things, team building, just general confidence. So there is an appetite for it as well. So your timing is super. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evie.
Great. Thank you so much. And now we are going to zoom out from Ecovillage education and sustainability to a more wider perspective on Ecovillage impact, bringing the lenses of community member, also a community consultant and networker. And I'm gonna invite Steffen Emrich to share. You can briefly introduce yourself, Steffen, and also bring your perspective into the topic Ecovillage impact. And I know it's from a different angle. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. And it is actually from a very different angle. I think it's important to make a distinction sometimes between let's say Ecovillage knowledge, Gaia education knowledge, and prototyping an Ecovillage. I think both works hand in hand, but it's both necessary. And today I want to speak out of the perspective of a practitioner living in an Ecovillage, and not so much focusing on the background, on education and on all these things which happen outside the actual Ecovillage. Yeah, as mentioned before, my name is Steffen. I do live in ecovillages for the last 20 years or so. I'm with the movement for more than 30 years. I used to live in the US in an ecovillage called Arcosanti. I did spend some time in Oroville in India in the ecovillage 10, 15 years ago, and I'm a co-founder of the community where I currently live. I worked for Jen on different levels, and yeah, I think that's enough. I gonna speak a little bit about my Ecovillage, and I want to share the screen. Just give me a sec. And oh, I cannot share my screen at the moment.
Try it again.
I'll try again. No, I can. So I hope you see the spring picture called gASTWERKe Escherode. Can you give me a thumbs up if you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, now it's up.
Yes, okay, it took a while. Yeah, I happened to give a PowerPoint to some African colleagues, and I was talking like for half an hour, and they were so polite, not interrupting me, and then they told me, okay, we haven't seen any of your pictures, and that was quite a mess. But yeah, this is actually where I live. It's a community in the middle of Germany. We bought an old like research area. They were doing some research here on agriculture. We are around 50 people currently, 30 adults, 20 children. We have 11 hectares of land, a couple of animals. These are just keywords. I will give you pictures in a moment, but just to give you an idea about the whole project, we have a communal kitchen, carpool, guest room, workshops, an old fruit orchard, etc., and various businesses. And this brings us to the impact we'll have. But before that, I just give you some impressions. Some of my community co-members. We do have an academy for sustainable living. This is like one of the posters we display in our gardens. This, for example, is a water cycle ecosystem. We have like a big greenhouse you can see in the back of these pictures, and we use the drainage water to collect it in this little lake, this artificial lake, which then will be used. The water will then be used for irrigation again in the greenhouse. And by doing this and by showcasing that, we already have quite an impact to other farmers visiting us. But I will come back to this in a moment. We do have quite a professional farm on one side, and on the other side, we try to work as sustainable with the fertile fields as possible. So we use horses if possible. It's a very low impact farming. We have a tomato museum with around 150 species of tomatoes and chilies, and yeah, many other things. Community members again. Well, for this little presentation, I want to focus on different impacts we have as a community, and I want to focus on the individual community level, also on the local level, and then on the interregional level, on the more global perspective. And I think communities, and I use now my community gASTWERKe as a prototype, they have quite an impact on very different levels. Many people who move to communities because they want to feel themselves more, they want to feel their own impact, they want to work on their personal growth. And I think it's worthwhile to offer these spaces where you can live your own life. So I think it's a big playground for adults in many ways, which offers us a lot of space for personal development. You get a lot of mirrors. It's about personal empowerment. At the same time, it's a great environment for community members and visitors for learning. We offer a lot of learning opportunities, be it for ourselves, like we invite trainers, teachers, workshop leaders to work with us, and we offer workshops, obviously, for others. And I think that's a great chance to learn and teach at the same time. That's why I did put this picture of my son here. It's a fantastic, and I think that's very worthwhile. It's a very important learning environment for young children to live or to grow up in a communal lifestyle, and not only in the kindergarten learn about community tools, but actually to grow up in this sort of environment, which really is a life-changing experience, or a life. It's not changing, actually. It's a life developing experience. Like in this case, he was building this himself. We have a professional wood shop, and we offer another environment than most people have, where people, and especially young people, really can develop in a different way. I think that's quite something already. But it's also a space for us for experiment. We have experimented with aquaponic, with renewable energies. We failed quite often. We had our first like wind turbine, totally self-made, and it failed. But we do have this space where people can use their skills and go through their personal growth process. This is one level, and I think it's actually quite important. But then, and this is more like obvious to the outside, is the local and the regional level. As a community, we regularly organize events in and for the community. Like last week, we had a public reading about the fascist history of our village. This is something very unusual, and nobody else in the village would like organize something like this. But we have the means and we have the possibility, and it was actually quite an important and interesting event reading in the local community, in the community house of the village, like on a public space, not outside the community, but we organized it. 2 months ago, we had we were making apple juice, like local apple juice in the community, and we're inviting people from the village and from the region to bring their own apple and to make our own apple juice here. So people together, but it's also like a little step into more sustainability for the region. We do have the only shop in the village. There, like 20 years ago, it was quite a lively village, but over time, everything stopped. Everybody is buying at Amazon and driving with their cars to the next supermarket. The only shop remaining is our little health food store in the village. Because of us, the public library in the village is still working. We are active in the local parliament. We are active participating in different local clubs. We started a forest kindergarten. We have various small businesses. We have one of the biggest community-supported agricultures in all over Germany, together with our neighboring community. So there's quite an impact from these only 50 people. And it's an impact which is seen also by the region. We were in contact with or villages, or me as a person, I was in contact, and I remember one quote from a mayor of a village called Kaufungen, and he said, like, every village should have an eco-village, because we kind of need this young, well, I'm not that young anymore, but this new or innovative approaches to change something and to look at the village. And we are people, I mean, I speak now from a German perspective, usually quite privileged. We can choose where we want to live, and we can choose this sort of lifestyle. But we also, we start an eco-village, or we move to an eco-village because we want to change something. And with this energy, we really make a difference in the villages where we go. And I think that's true for many, at least Western European eco-villages. I also work in Ukraine, others, and in our Ukrainian friends, and there it's still Europe, but it's a different perspective. But speaking from Western Europe, I think it's a very privileged perspective where we can make quite a lot of changes. Having talked about the more local or regional impact, and I think I forgot one point which I still want to point out. Because we do things different, we make people think. And like we are a commune, for example, we share all our income. And this makes it different when we speak to people who visit us. And these are quite often like local people, and they start thinking differently. When we offer, or when we have our like public celebrations, like we have a tomato day and like a young plant day, I don't know how you call that, but we invite people from the outside, and then we don't have like fixed prices, for example, for their coffee. We just have like a box and ask for donations and say, okay, this is public, it's all organic, we organize it for you, now you give what you feel what you feel is fair. And it's very difficult for people. They usually ask, yeah, but what do you recommend, etc. But it's also a learning experience for them, and it makes people think, and it changes something in the mindset in the community, like in the wider community. We are the first like Energy Plus project here in the region. We produce more energy than we actually need. And I know that also for many other communities, at least in Germany. And this makes people think. We had the first public e-car, how do you call it? Like, it's not a filling station anymore, but it's like, public battery, basically, where you could go and recharge your electronic car. And this changed something. Now we have, well, there's still only 2 in the village, and they're both run by us. And this has quite an impact in the region. Oops. And for the even larger aspect, I at least want to point out that many eco-villages offer international and national trainings. It's not only us, it's I think many have an academy or a training center. At least for us, I can say we offer very cheap workshop venues for political groups. Like the National Extinction Rebellion meeting took place in our community like 3 or 4 months ago. We have, like, every month we have Fridays for Future from the region who can meet in our place, because we say, okay, as a community, we can make it happen. You know, we're not so much dependent on this income, and because we as a community, we want to make a political difference, we help others, and we are part of a network of political activists. And yeah, this makes a lot of enables many other community or projects to actually do their work. Yeah, others can offer cheap places for them to meet. And last but not least, I mean, it's more on an individual level, but I think, for example, speaking of myself, because I'm living in a community, I have the opportunity to spend parts of my time as a political activist. So I'm, for example, part of the Global Ecovillage network on various also like admin levels, or spending a lot of volunteer time. 2 members of my community are very active in the Gen Germany network. We had 2 people who were part of the national board of the Community Supported Agriculture Network in Germany. The German Sociocracy Network started in my community. So also because we can offer place, but also people like to visit places like us, we also offer an environment for a larger context where things can develop. And I think, yeah, probably that's enough for now. But for me, it's important that, and I think they all go hand in hand. It's like the really hands-on, like personal level. And I think every change starts from a person, and it's often neglected. But I think eco-villages are very important also to offer these surroundings, these setups where we as people can develop. It definitely has an impact on the region. And I truly believe that it has an even larger impact on a super regional level. Yeah, thank you very much. I guess that's enough for now, and I give back to Thaisa.
Thank you. Wow, what an inspiring presentation and sharing. Thank you so much, Steffen. I feel you touched in very points that are somehow close to my heart. And yeah, I would really love to see one eco-village in each village to inspire us all to this really important change. Wow, great. So questions and reflections around Steffen's presentation? Any question, comment? Please.
Hey, that was great, really interesting, Steffen. I particularly, I mean, like you're preaching to the choir, I suppose, on a meeting like this about, you know, the innovation and the energy for change that eco-villages have. It is just, it really is so impressive. I always feel really regenerated every time I visit an eco-village or go to a conference. So yeah, I'm totally down with the values and things that you described. And I'm just interested in what you were saying about giving partners space to be activists and kind of sharing your privilege in that way, because I think it is becoming harder for environmental activists to find space to demonstrate and to speak out and to have their message heard as reasonable discourse. You know, there's such a lot of fake news and kind of cancelling and disproportionate reactions to environmental discourse. So I'm just wondering, you know, what else you can tell us about that? Is there anything more? You know, does the fact that Jen has, you know, is a partner with UN institutions, like, does that help to raise the, you know, the respect for that discourse and for those partners?
Well, I mean, Jen is different everywhere, and I really speak from a privileged situation in Germany. So we can also afford to invite people here, and I really have to point that out because I know it's very different in other areas in the world. But I think we use our privilege, and I know at least from our region here around Kassel, we are 5 communes. Like part urban, partly suburban, and we offer a lot. We have the possibility to offer space for free sometimes, if we think it's worthwhile. Obviously, we also have to make a living, and it's part of our business. But I know from all the other communities around here that when this is like an institution or an organization or a network we want to support, we do have the possibilities, and I think that's also a privilege and a possibility to have some political impact. I'm happy that we have our status at the UN, but I think the impact we have on this level is very, very low. I mean, there are other players with much more capacities and possibilities, but still, it's worthwhile. It does not make a difference here on my local level. I think it's important if it comes through Ecovillages or if we partner with other organizations on a COP. I also was participating at a COP a couple of years ago. But on a local level, this is not important. We do have, and we are registered as a learning environment. I don't know the proper term within the EU. So they have this like label for learning sport for sustainability or something like that, and the UNESCO. And this is sometimes helpful when we go for public funding, but that's the only thing.
Okay.
I think for everybody else, they don't really care.
Okay. Yeah, just, I mean, Extinction Rebellion here is very like negatively regarded, and you know, they get threatened with kind of terrorism type offences when they close roads and, you know, try to, I suppose that they have a particular kind of action that they like to use. So yeah, I see what you mean about the local dynamic that you're working with and how you're, you know, creating a platform that has, just a range of partners. That's really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amandine, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Steffen, for the presentation. Great inspiration. My question is also related to privilege, maybe not in such a complex way of seeing the subject, but I would like to ask you to elaborate more in your perspective, knowing that you had some position at GEN, so you have a wider perspective of the difference between the regions. And taking this point of privilege, what were your observation and conclusion of why this happened between the North and the South, for example, in Europe? Because you speak that you live in a privilege, and the persons or the members that choose to live in Ecovillage are privileged. But when we look in different countries, it's not the same. We cannot say the same. So what are your thoughts on that? And could you elaborate more on this perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I was pointing that out because I'm very aware that I'm a white German, well educated, and most people in eco-villages in Germany do have a rather, at least a medium level of education, and we are all Germans. We have a security system here in Germany which helps us to survive even if we don't earn money. And I think that's not the same everywhere in the world. I used to work in African countries, in Sudan and in Uganda and Congo, different story, obviously. And if people in these countries decide to start a project together, it usually comes from another mindset. And I think that's also in Europe. I mean, in Portugal, you have another system than we do have in Germany. And it is definitely different than I visited projects in Ukraine last year. And definitely they come from another mindset and another possibility. What is a big advantage here, and it's not very common in many eco-villages, we have a shared economy. This is also kind of changing our privileges within the community or inside the community. We all have the same access to money. And for example, if I lose a job, I don't feel threatened because I know others in my community will take care of it. It's like a big family. And this is also, I mean, it's sometimes also a burden, I tell you. But in an overall perspective, it's quite a privilege that we have a care system in our community, which gives us a certain stability. And I think that also makes a difference in many communities. I don't know if there's somebody from Finton here. When people have to live on their own means and they don't take care about themselves, it can be threatened when the situations are changing. Having been to many communities, I think it's really it very much depends on the cultural setup of the community and of the political environment. There are some communities also in poorer countries where we're very closely together and where they have a very good system of mutual support. And then there are other communities which are also considered being in eco-villages where it's very much on your own if you can survive there or not. I think it makes a lot of sense to be aware of your privilege, and it is different everywhere. So I like to continue this discussion, but it's probably too wide for this setup here. But I think it's important when we speak about the strengths and the weaknesses of eco-villages, also to include this aspect about what can we do, what is our personal situation, and what are the privileges and probably also disadvantages when we move to a place like an eco-village, and not compare apples.
Thank you, Steffen. And I guess Rebeca will also touch upon this topic in her presentation very soon. Ana Margarida, do you want to ask another question or bring a reflection?
It's just a remark. I'm really glad that Amandine raised that question, because I think that you know, the impression that I have is that the eco-village model in itself is very much rooted in a Central and Northern European context. The model in itself, but it can be transferable to other contexts. But in order to make that possible, and in order to even out privileges and inequalities, we should advocate for a system of a kind of universal basic income, or a kind of scholarship or fellowship systems to support people who really want to create or to be part of regenerative initiatives, but who do not have the support system to take care of them in case things do not go as expected.
Yeah, I feel we're getting to such a different avenue if we continue in this direction, because then you have to talk about like social security system in different countries. And like I'm calling from Brazil, it's a totally different situation than countries like Portugal, Germany, and including like African countries or Asian countries. I feel then we go beyond the limits of what is like doable for Ecovillage groups and yeah, how to interact with
I
the
think that
wider context.
we definitely should. Of course, not during this this colloquium because we would be getting too much off topic. But it's definitely something that we should discuss in the future. And actually, RePES Europe is already bringing in that topic in its in the projects it's organizing together with Jen, and also in the framework of Ecolese.
Great. I don't know if Steffen would like to comment. Sorry, I jumped in. And we do need to move on because we want to hear from Rebeca, and then we will open again for questions.
I think I don't. I mean, I hear you, Anna Margarita, and I totally agree, but not in this context. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and let's continue. Well, probably one point. I think we are in Gen very aware of this inequality, and we try to support each others as partly on a community level. There are a lot of partnerships between different communities like Damanhur and Senegal and Tamara and Kenya and others. And I think that's something we can advocate for and actually do. And then there is a higher level, how we can like transform like political life on a larger scale. But yeah, this is a long way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steffen. Very nice presentation. And now I will hand it over to Rebeca. Rebeca will share about her research project, Ecovillages as Incubators for Sustainability Transitions.
Thank you. Can you see my screen and hear me well? Okay, great. So yeah, this is the project I have already introduced. And in this project, I'm working with Jens, Nadine, and Lasse, and we have been supported by the Swiss National Science Foundation. I'm not going to go into methodology because I think I'm going to focus on the results, and then you can ask me questions about methodology if you want in the questions in the Q&A session. But I just need to say that in this project, we wanted to study how ecovillages diffuse sustainable innovations. And the focus here is the local regional impact. So it's not like how they diffuse to other countries, it's more like how they diffuse to their surroundings. So that was the focus. So in the beginning of the project, we said, okay, we're going to study diffusion. But how do we measure diffusion? How do we measure this impact? And I need to say that Steffen and Anne, they are both project partners of the project, and they really participate in the discussions and helped us like build these ideas. And so after we did some exploratory interviews with ecovillages from 20 different countries from the global north and south, and then we came up with a model. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these dynamics of this model. So we think about diffusion and impact as embedding. So this means that ecovillage narratives, practices, they become embedded in society. It's like a cumulative influence where they become more and more embedded in society. Because when we think about diffusion of ecovillage practices, in ecovillages, we are not talking so much about technologies, because usually studies about diffusion, they study technologies. But in ecovillages, it's like new models of organization, new ways of understanding things, new social practices. So we need a different theory to capture that. So I'm going to explain the dynamics that we found. So the first dynamic is expansion. So everything starts with relationships. So ecovillages, all the ecovillages that we interviewed in the exploratory phase, they're not self-sufficient, but their members, they work, they buy things in the local municipality, they participate in different local organizations like community-supported agriculture. They also receive people from the region in the community to participate in events like the one Steffen give it an example. Or people go to the eco-village to use facilities. So there is like, and also in eco-villages where the members were born in the same region, there is also family and friendship ties with people from outside. And in expansion, we also see like how formal collaboration projects are built between eco-villages and other actors from outside the eco-village. So I'm gonna bring here one example of Terra Luminous in Brazil. So they started, it's an eco-village in the rural area, and they started organizing meetings with the neighbors to see what are the needs of their locality. And they saw that garbage was an issue. So with time, they started to collaborate with local farmers, with business owners, with waste collectors cooperative, local schools, the municipal authorities, and they developed participatory management of waste, a project for managing waste in a participatory way. And it was so successful that the municipality is now expanding it to other neighborhoods. So it shows that like by building bridges with people from outside in this project, their participatory management of waste is becoming embedded in the locality. And then just to bring also some numbers, I think numbers are always illustrative. So this is from the survey that we did with 130 eco-villages from 30 different countries. And we asked about formal collaborations between eco-villages and other actors from the region. And we can see that eco-villages collaborate a lot. So, globally, more than 60% of the eco-villages, they develop collaborations with governmental agencies. More like around 75% with educational institutions. And here we were talking about privilege. And in the Global South, it's very interesting because in the Global South, it's where there is more diffusion and more collaboration. And you can see that, for example, in the Global South, 70% of eco-villages collaborate with marginalized groups. So, for example, people living in poor housing conditions or indigenous or traditional communities. So the next dynamic, so this is the first step, is relationships. And through relationships, the other dynamics, the other impacts, they come. So another impact is what we call reframing. That's the cultural impact. That's like what Steffen said, when people go there and there is a different way of giving value to the coffee, it actually changes how people see things. And this happens through informal conversations or also through intentional activities of raising awareness and activism. And also in a more passive way, just by people going there and seeing new ways of living and new ways of doing things, it already starts to change frames, how people see things. So I put this picture because I want to give the example of this indigenous eco-village in Colombia. It's called Musuhunacuna. And the municipal government tried to evict them from their land because they wanted to build a jail. And they were justifying this decision to the locals, saying, oh, this will create jobs. It's going to be good for the local development. It's going to increase the value of properties. And they were framing the community as an obstacle for development. And what the communities did is like they started talking to the neighbors and showing them that their project is actually a symbol of solidarity, of buen vivir. And they were explaining their values to the neighbors, and they managed to convince them to support the eco-village against the construction of the jail. So this is like an example of this impact of actually showing people a different way to look at things. And then what is interesting also, like we found that some eco-villages that are in regions where there are many alternative regenerative projects in the same region, like the one in Stephanie's, they mentioned that it's more clear this cumulative effect. Like they can see real changes in the region because it's not just one project, but it's like a network of projects that actually lead to a greater influence in the cultural landscape. And then now to bring some numbers. So this is globally. So 82% of eco-villages work with awareness raising activities. 75% spreading ideas through media. A smaller amount, 34%, mostly in the global north, they participate in protests or political activism. 80% offer guided visits or guided tours where people can see new ways of living. Okay, so moving on, the next dynamic is circulation of knowledge. So most eco-villages, they have educational programs, courses, retreats, volunteering programs, where they diffuse knowledge to external actors. So I'm going to bring here one example of the Himalayan Permaculture Center, HPC, in Nepal. So they work with 30 traditional communities, and they demonstrate sustainable techniques such as agroforestry, composting, beekeeping, and they train and they give the necessary tools to farmers, such as seedlings and seeds. And they developed a farmer's handbook showing techniques. And because many farmers cannot read, they have also an adult literacy program. They also make videos and to show the techniques, and also a physical demonstration during the courses. So it just shows how eco-villages, they embed like new skills and new competencies in the region, like new knowledge that may become embedded. And then to bring some numbers from the survey, so we can see that almost 70% of eco-villages, they organize courses, seminars, and workshops from people from the locality. And here, it's important to say that these numbers, we focus the questions on people from the region, not people that come from far away, but just people from the region. And 65% offer volunteering opportunities to people from the region. Shifting material arrangements. So that's another impact of eco-villages. So eco-villages, this can happen through three dynamics. So eco-villages might create physical structures or objects that are available for people from outside. So for example, the example I brought from Terra Luminous, they created the collection bins for recyclables that people from the neighborhood could use. And to connect with the examples Steffen brought, in gASTWERKe, they created charging stations for the cars. Or here in the picture is the example of the eco-village Izes in Ghana, where they diffuse these cooking stoves that in order to diminish the harvest of mangroves that people use as fuels. So there are many different ways in which, or also like having venues that are open for other groups to use. These material arrangements also talk about transformation of the natural environment. So many eco-villages create protected areas or preservation projects outside the eco-village. And the economic impact, either by generating jobs, and also like many eco-villages that work with training. there is like a diversification of local economies that increase wealth generation. And also in the Global South, there is also direct impact through food distribution or establishment of bartering systems, which had a big impact during the COVID-19 pandemic and brought a lot of resilience to local communities. So, sorry. So just to bring one example, I bring the one from Govardhan Ecovillage in India, where every day they prepare around 4,000 meals. 90% of them are free of charge. And they also told me how they have helped to set up health centers, a livelihood program, and well, they had a big impact on the locality. So now numbers from the survey. So okay, we can see that 42% of ecovillages worldwide they engage in conservation or regeneration projects outside the ecovillage. 39% also share or donate materials. 34% have helped improve infrastructures outside the ecovillage. Yeah. Okay, and finally, the last dynamic is replication. So replication here, we understand that it's when people start replicating practices they learned at the eco-village outside the eco-village. So someone might go to the eco-village, learn about composting, and start composting their own waste in their house. So that's a replication of a specific practice. But replication can also be, okay, no, I want to replicate all the practices of the eco-village. So I'm going to live in an eco-village, or I'm going to create a new eco-village. So that's also like replication. And here I bring the example of an eco-village in Brazil called Favela da Paz. I have just spent 1 month there with them conducting field work. And it's really interesting because they were a group of activists that were invited to participate in a program in Tamera Ecovillage in Portugal. And they were so inspired that they came back to the slum and they brought a lot of the practices they learned in Tamera and started to apply them in the slum. And they received a lot of support from Tamera here. And it's interesting because I think the concept of eco-village is so fluid because there's not strict what exactly an eco-village should be. It's kind of open. So it's really interesting because it allows for adaptation in many different contexts. So we can see we had an indigenous community in Colombia. We have a high-income residential development in Australia. We have a collective in a slum. So it's really interesting how this open concept allows for replication in different contexts. And then what I found really moving in my time there is how there is another slum in São Paulo, and one woman from this other slum, which is much poorer than here, she was participating in some programs at Favela da Paz, and she got so inspired that she's replicating the idea in the other slum. Of course, adapting to another reality, a more difficult reality, but she's also starting to do some projects there. And you can see how, and here when we were talking about like privilege and like the role of eco-villages in the global north, I feel that like the support that Tamera gave to Favela da Paz was, they have such a great local impact. I mean, I talked to a lot of people and they transform lives. Like it's a huge impact they have in the slum, and now they're having in another slum. So it's really interesting how this replication dynamics they occur, and how these transnational networks they can support, even though it was not the focus of the study. So to bring some numbers, So we can see that like more than half of the ecovillages reported replication of specific practices. So people that became vegetarian, or they started recycling, or they started using solar panels after connecting to the ecovillage. 70%, more than 70% of ecovillages also inspire the creation of other ecovillages. And also there is like this phenomenon of members that leave the ecovillage, but they go and they create new ecovillages elsewhere. So this is also a form of replication. So just some final considerations. So first, like all these dynamics, of course, like in academia, we need to distinguish because we need to analyze, but they all occur like in entangled ways. So usually in ecovillage education, you're circulating knowledge, but there's also reframing going on while you are teaching a technique. Yeah, so they come together. So for example, in the case that Margarita showed, there is replication because she was in the eco-village and then she left the eco-village and she replicated eco-village practices in different areas. And there's also reframing and there's also circulation of knowledge. So eco-village education is something that is becoming embedded not only in eco-villages, but also outside the eco-village. And of course, I need to mention that most of the data I showed you here was based on talking to eco-villagers. So of course, there is a bias towards positive impact. Now that we're doing field work, we can check if there is also, there might be negative impacts. I don't know, there is. And yeah, but like, yeah, I think that's it. I'm just open for questions. And so this is my email. If you want to contact me, I am currently in fieldwork. I might take some time, but I will answer you. And this is the webpage of the project. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebeca. Questions, comments on Rebeca's study and presentation? I see a comment, like incredible pictures from favela and indigenous villages. Margarita, please.
Yeah, I couldn't find much.
Yeah, I mean, there were just like so many brilliant statistics as well. Yeah, really great.
So yeah, I really think it's just for a really amazing studies. I mean, the it was really focused and really broad at the same time. It's really nice to see the replication of an impact of global the eco village into the mainstream, which is really inspiring. It's very inspiring. I love the project. And while I'm speaking and doing my thing here, I forgot what I'm going to ask you, but I had the question. Maybe it will come again later. I had one question at one moment, and my brain's just like forgot it for a while. Sorry.
That's okay. Maybe we go to someone else, Ebin, and then we can come back to you. You were talking simultaneously.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I love the presentation, and there's just such a lot of work and research behind it, and some great statistics. Rebeca, like, is that all from your own work, or have you done like a literature review as well? Really, really compact and comprehensive.
Yeah, this is all from the EVIST project. So on the first year, we interviewed 24 eco-villages from 20 different countries online. So it was a qualitative, more exploratory study. And then on the second year, we conducted a survey with 130 eco-villages from 30 different countries. And that's where we got the quantitative numbers. So now we are on the third phase, which is field work. And it's currently in progress. And then at the end, it's a 4-year project. At the end, we're going to try to connect all this data and yeah, produce the outputs.
Oh, super.
Back
Thank you so
to you,
much.
Matt.
It's really great.
I remember my question, if I may.
Yes,
This is
please.
written out. So it's a really it's an amazing research, and I believe that this research will go and be published. I was just wondering how, this is just my interest, are you planning in the future on how to deliver this to, let's say, policymakers, mainstream, and do you have now, how would you deliver it outside after the research? Interested to know that.
Yeah, we really want to create outputs that are not only academic, but also can be can circulate in the GEN networks and also to authorities and other actors that are interested in the topic, and create something more visual and in a more lay language. And so this is something that we hope to discuss with our project partners in the next project meeting, and see what would be relevant, how we can present it, and we hope to be able to deliver and in different languages, because we are working with also like many different languages. So it will be a lot of work, and if you have any ideas also, or if you want to support, or yeah, just get in touch. We would love to have some support in doing that.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
just I asked, can I continue? Is it okay? Yeah. So it's just this, I know I have a personal experience of how the Ecovillage impact the teachers in the kindergarten I'm working. I didn't mention before, but throughout the process, we were visiting the Ecovillage, and the recording and data that I have. I mean, of course, what I showed now is just really tiny bits of the whole discussion. It's about 100 pages. So their process of when they visited the Ecovillage, and then when we came back to the kindergarten, there's like in a week, the change of their classroom was amazing. And you can see the impact what they did to them, and as well as just like they know that I'm coming from the Ecovillage. I came out of the Ecovillage, went straight to the school. I was hired because I was coming from the Ecovillage, and they wanted to do some changes within the school. So I was hired, and then they just let me do whatever I can do, everything. I have chickens and gardens and worms and you name it. I have it in the classroom. So that's the impact. I was wondering how. Yeah, it's just so many ideas in my head now. How can we bring this to the education in my own as my own interest? Because we really need that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that Ecovillage members, or people that are really connected to the Ecovillage movement, they are wherever they go, they are replicating practices, they are educators, and they bring so there's this more individual impact, let's say. So for example, in the research project I'm working in, I also come from the Ecovillage. So we're using like some sociocracy, we're doing some sharing sessions in the group. So I think Ecovillage members, they bring these practices everywhere they go, in a sense. And I feel that, yes, I think that education in ecovillages has a great potential, because actually people can feel and experience what it's like to do things in a different way, and they get knowledge, not only like theoretical knowledge in the classroom, but also experiential knowledge of what it is to work in a collective and work together in collaboration. So this immersion in the ecovillage has a very deep impact on people. There is a very interesting research of a woman that did a master's thesis or a doctoral thesis, I don't remember, about she interviewed alumni of Ecovillage courses to understand if they applied practices, if they changed their lives in a way. And she never published a paper about it, but I always use her research. And it's really interesting how people try to adapt to their own context. So there is an impact there on participants, and that's really, yeah, I think there is a lot of potential there. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
You did.
okay.
It's just like, I just wanted to bring up to the whole, I
Mhm.
mean, people like, what can we do to bring this out and yeah, for the future. Have that,
Thank
everyone
you.
have that in your mind.
Let's move on with Anne and then
Yeah.
Sergey.
Well, I have a question to the three of you, since we have so much competency here, and the connection between you is very broad, but it's very deep, and it's about what kind of impact bring ecovillages. And it sounds as if ecovillages already changed the world when you're talking, but as we all know, we are in a bubble. We are a niche phenomenon. I'm working at the university, well, you two are researcher, and it's even hard to bring the impact of ecovillages, make an awareness within one academic institution. So what would you say, all the three of you, is necessary to really have impact, once on a political scale, on the other side in academia, and in other institutional contexts than in our bubble? So what would you say is where could we really make a broader impact of it? You have all 2 minutes. No, joking.
Well, yeah, I have some ideas about that, because I think that I don't know, as Foucault already showed, like there is like when people they're on the public discourse, there are different levels of power, let's say. So when an eco-villager is saying something, it's people listen in a way, but when there is like a governmental officer, like with a tie, speaking in a big conference, and there is another way of hearing the discourse, and where the media is presenting like in a news program, like something very objective. That's also another type of power of this discourse. So I feel that the more, and I think this is already happening in Europe, I feel that community-led initiatives, they are more visible, they are in the public debates, and they are talking with politicians. There are public policies already available. So it's something that is becoming more normalized in the mainstream, and also like having more media attention, but in a deeper way, not so superficial, but actually, and of course academia, yeah. So having like we did this survey, and I believe that numbers, when we do like quantitative survey, it also has like a bigger impact, because numbers feel more objective to people, even though there are a lot of stories of the impact. Numbers, they bring this, oh wow, 90%, so I feel that maybe generating more, let's say, authoritative I don't know the word in English, but like this kind of discourse which has more power in our society, maybe it could help to normalize eco-villages and eco-village practices.
Margarita, Steffen, don't know if you want to comment.
I just would like to hear, maybe Sergey is waiting for quite a while.
No, I asked this question to the three of
Yeah,
you,
okay.
and
Oh, yeah,
think
okay. So yeah, but I agree with Rebeca about the academic. Academic helps me a lot to explain people what I'm doing. This is also the reason why I just indulge to this, and it's not fun to do a lot of literature review. It's fun to do a data analysis, and that's something that researcher enjoys quite a lot. But yeah, writing is quite a pain in the, everything. But that's, when I present and show them, it's like you get people's attention. So I think, yeah, the authority is very important. But also one thing that I really would like to take out is that eco-villages already have space. So why don't we create more workshop for more people in the field? Let's say education. I'm really, enthusiastic about education, because we can take the teachers in the eco-villages, focus more. Eco-villages can create more space for the teachers, because teachers will bring them to the students, So we're not, we're reaching to like a key. So one teacher can influence 30 kids, in one class. So let's start with that. We have youth program, of course, you need massive, but let's find the key and bring them to the eco-village, and let's make a space for them to come. Like kind of like how, okay, this will sound so weird. How do we lure them into the eco-village? When I first did my meeting with the people inside the institution, inside the kindergarten, it was really awkward. We were sitting down with the PowerPoint and everything. I was explaining them the research, but I didn't get any data from that. But then when I take them and approach them from the eco-village point of view, in the second meeting, it was so powerful that the third meeting, they don't want to do anything else but just that. Like they don't want to start anything without meditation. They don't want to start anything on the chair. They want to move. They want to, this approach that we have in the eco-villages is very impactful. It's just that very first step. How do we lure them? Because people are afraid that things that, when you say eco-village, people don't know us. Like, it's just, they don't know. They have this, there's a lot of prejudice still. But how can we meet them in the middle? Because probably they want to, but they can't, because they're afraid. And the reason why they're afraid, because they don't know what is it. Yeah.
Thank you, Margarita. I will open to Steffen. I see you're ready. And then we hear from Sergey, Tom, and wrap up. Just a sec. And we can all...
I try to be quick. I think we do have quite an impact, but it's sometimes difficult to prove it, that it comes from an eco-village, and that's probably not so important at the end. Generally, I think we have to, like coming from development aid, we have this terminus multi-track diplomacy. You have to work on different levels. You have to work on a ground level, on the intermediate administrative university level, but also on the high political level. And I think with our very scarce resources, we try to do that. We do have a representation at the UN. I know it's only a very small, it's like one person representing up there, but we try to be present at the COP. On the intermediate level, we have organizations like Equalise in Europe, at least, and we do have our demonstration sites. So I think that's already quite a good approach. Then we have to think in corporations. We are not just, it's not us. We are not the center of the world. But we do our little piece together with transition town movements, with climate action movements, etc. And we interlink. We give each other space. We invite each other to conferences and meetings, and we cross-pollinate. And I think this really makes a difference. And if I want to break it down on a very basic level, I can at least say for Germany, where I know most about, the first big photovoltaic setup, I don't know the English term, on a public building in Germany was in a community. Was at Uferfabrik in Berlin. The first public filling station for electronic cars was in a community in Germany, was in a community of Steierberg. The whole community-supported agriculture movement in Germany would not have started without the community, or at least would not be so big as it is right now. So when it comes to very practical examples, I definitely can prove that communities make a difference. And then when I look to countries like Ukraine, like the impact projects like Zelení Kruči or Busha Toloka or the Green Road Project has on the actual surrounding in the area where they're active, I think it's massive. And so I would love to scale up, but I think keeping in mind that we have at GEN maybe all in all 5, 6, Taisa, correct me, maybe if I count like every little project together, we have maybe 6 or 7, 10 people working on on a payroll for Gen, if you have this in mind, I think we do have quite an impact. So I'm quite satisfied actually, considering our size. But there's space to upscale
Yeah,
it.
less than 10 if we are talking about Gen International, but we have a few staff in Gen Europe, like one in Asia, none in Latin America.
Yeah, so
But
it's even less than 10. Yeah.
international, like more, like 5, 8, as it's
So
a very small
having
team.
this in mind, I think we're quite successful.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Annie and all. I'm gonna open first to Sergey because you had your hand raised, and then Tom, and we wrap up together.
Yeah, thank you much. And the question mostly to Rebecca, I think. So it was already mentioned, like the public audience to be aware of the results of the project. But I would ask, like, exactly, like, do you supposed to do some outreach activities, not only within Gen, but like maybe like public lectures, like popular science or something like that, and or like any collaborations with artists or something like that, like to make the results more accessible, like in galleries, for example, or like as a video materials or something like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. So for now we have been so we're planning some meetings. I already did one for Latin America in Portuguese and Spanish to share the results with ecovillages. And yeah, we're trying to work in collaboration with the regional Gen networks for that. But yeah, for now, we are also open to talk about the results and talk about the research in other places. And we would love to, if some artists would like to support us with the organization of the results, because none of us in the team, we have a lot of skills in that. And yeah, it would be great if like an editor or someone with these skills want to support. We are super open for collaboration if you want to contribute somehow. Yeah, just get in touch and yep. Are you an artist, Sergey?
Sergey, we can't hear you.
I'm not an artist, but
No.
I'm starting to work with them, and I'm also a researcher of ecovillages and the back to the land movement in general. So I do it like 7-8 years already. But what I've started to discover is that like without media, without professional journalists, without bloggers, video bloggers, and without like artists who can create more, who can make like our results more accessible, we are
Translated to
losing the
other
growth.
languages.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Let's hand it over to Tom. I'm taking care of our time.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, hi. Yeah, question for Rebecca. Thanks for the presentation. Super interested in the outputs of your research, and I did reach out to you separately, so thanks for agreeing to have a chat with me. But for now, just a quick question. I found, yeah, the story around the overcoming the pressure to build a prison and getting support from the local neighborhood, that's really fascinating and powerful. So I guess my question is about the value of ecovillages, and I'm super curious about sort of reframing the whole purpose of an ecovillage and shifting the perception of that, especially for getting funding and support from government to design and build more ecovillages, more for the purpose of, hey, this is a living lab where it's a place to do experimentation, and more than just, hey, this is for a small community to do a bit of outreach. The whole purpose of this could be, very valuable to help with the sustainable transformation and shift of behaviors in urban environments and so on. So, yeah, my question is around the value. how can we use some of the outputs of your research to kind of demonstrate what the value of eco-villages are? And that could not just economic value, but social value and environmental value, and really just a value for a place to experiment and learn and you know, translate into another place. And yeah, I think for me that's so powerful, and I'm wondering how best to sort of leverage your research to help design new eco-villages and get support and perhaps even funding, because you know, we can prove the value in so many different ways of eco-villages.
So you're asking about the value of the research for the eco-village movement, is that? I'm not sure if I got it.
I think it's, yeah, the outputs of the research helping to show what is the value to society. It could not just be the economic value, but also, you know, social, environmental, because I think you saw that right with this prison. You know, the risk would be that the locals see having a job as more valuable to them than the outreach coming from the eco-village. So I think that's really powerful, a really powerful story. So I'm interested in how the outputs of your research could help to prove what is really the value to society of eco-villages.
Yeah, well, that's a complex question. So I think one added value of the EVIST project is, like I said, that we did a quantitative survey, and like showing numbers, there's always like a more impact on people. And when we were discussing, we were working with partners from different regions, and many partners, especially the ones from Gen Africa, they are really interested in having like I think we discussed that in the partners meeting. Maybe Steffen, you can help me out. Oh, he already left. Like of having this like with the stamp of the university, like a document that really shows, so they can use that when they are trying to convince authorities of the value of what they're doing. So because the academia has like this weight in public discourse, like how this type of research could actually help eco-villagers on the ground. I think that's one point. And yeah, and when we talk about reframing and about this cultural impact, that's the most difficult thing to capture, because I mean, like, how do you measure the cultural impact, or how you transformed the way people think? Because usually it's really difficult to say that the eco-village changed something, but usually it's in the case of the indigenous community, it was clear because they had this work of going and talking to neighbors and trying to convince them. But usually in general, it's a bit more difficult to capture this cultural impact. But there is a lot of qualitative research that shows this impact. So I think, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm answering you. It's kind of, I don't know if someone else wants to help me.
No, I think I understand what you're saying. It's hard to quantify the impact as a measurable thing, but yeah.
And I think that's part of the work we are putting together as Ecovillage researchers. Or I feel this discussion is super relevant because it's all part of the mix. So how to add value to what eco-villagers are doing on the ground, or how to make it visible on the one hand, and also how can we systematize, how can we translate it into other languages so other people can access this knowledge, and how can we spread it? And scale. It's all part of the mix. But for sure, when you are working together with universities, when you make it, you somehow add value. It's like you bring credibility, because it's not someone that is saying, or it's not a crazy group of people. It's like, oh, that's an academic study. So yeah, Margarita, and
Yeah,
glad
it's,
you're opening your camera so I can see familiar faces around.
yeah. So it was funny the way you mentioned about Ecovillage and our images out there. So I was coming back from COP28, and of course you represent, I'm from Ecovillage and stuff like that. People come to our booth for 3 days. They ask many questions. They're curious. You know, one thing, it was the really funny thing is I was speaking to one of the authority, and I think I went, and we had 1 day off, so I went with them to the farm. I was doing some certain things with myself, and then I heard them talking. Oh yeah, it's because she's from Ecovillage. So they have this. They already have. I don't know what I'm doing at that time. I think I just went and sat down and meditate, or I did something, and then I heard from the back. Oh yeah, she's doing this because she's from the Ecovillage. So we have this image out there, and how to translate that, how to move that away from the stereotypical Ecovillage image is, I think, the academics need, like, is a powerful tool to create a different narrative of us, because there's a lot of when you say I'm from Ecovillage, people in the mainstream still has this stereotypical, I don't know what, but yeah, maybe, yeah. I just wanted to share that.
Any other comment, Tom? Do you feel we kind of answered?
I think you answered, yeah, and I think, Margarita, that's a really interesting challenge, right? It's really, you know, I'm from a sort of digital product and design world, so for me, it's a design challenge, right? How to use things like, you know, communication and behavioral science and the power of design and art and media to help shift perceptions. And I think, you know, that's a wonderful opportunity to, you know, to support this academic research that's so powerful with, you know, the forms of communication and, you know, hopefully persuasion that are needed to capitalize on it and have real impact. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing how I can support that effort. I think that's really exciting.
If I can have 1 more minute for Thaisa, because we were just speaking about this earlier. I mean earlier, I don't know which early, because of the time differences, when we were talking about the module. And I have been having this thought for quite a long time, sustainability and technology, and how we integrate, and what, you know, you just spoke about, you're coming from technology and we're coming from this part, and how we integrate those two. In COP28, I would say about 70% of everything I saw is about technology. Not much on the ground, not much things that you say, okay, let's go, let's build a wormery, let's build a vermery, you know. It's like, okay, this is a digitalized work, this is a platform you can do this, you can give this to teachers, like, it's very digitalized. So how can we, like, take a balance of these two worlds in the future? I think is it the key, and how do we translate as an ecovillages, as we who knows the ecovillage education, how can we sort of like integrate these two and evolve from there gracefully in the future? Because that is the future. If we see in the United Nations Summit that most of the things that presented is digitalized, how do we live, like, you know, how was the world, like, the hands-on, the organic thing, live within it?
Yeah,
questioning yourself.
I know we're nearly out of time, but I think that's, yeah, it's a beautiful question. Although I come from a digital world, you know, my purpose has always been to kind of try and save people, humanity, from technology and design, you know, more human technology. But I think, yeah, that the goal is, you know, a smart return to basics, not more technology. And I think, yeah, how can we, you know, triage technology and only bring you know, the technology that's helpful and helps us connect back with the natural world, but also, you know, how can we leverage communication and social media and things like that to shift perception? I think that's also an opportunity. But yeah, I don't think lots more digital platforms is necessarily, you know, the goal. It's more about, yeah, how do we shift mindsets, and how can we, you know, think about ecovillages as a sort of design opportunity, to think about their purpose and explain the value of them, to get more momentum behind them. I think that's what's exciting. Yeah.
Thank you all. Wow, we have been here for 2 hours and it's such a rich conversation, and I feel we could continue, but I know some people had to leave and were writing to me on the chat, oh, I'll catch up with the recording, but now it's really time to wrap up. And I want to thank you, especially Rebeca, Margarita, and Steffen, who had to go to another meeting, for being with us and sharing your knowledge, your studies, your passion. And yeah, I know there's a lot to continue, and especially around collaborations and how we can weave the dots to make it more, let's say, accessible, all this knowledge. How can we translate into different languages and to different cultures? As we know, the movement is really diverse. How can we bring this knowledge, systematize, share, use it, and build on it? There's a lot of work to be done, and we hope to count on each and all of you in this transition. Thank you so much. I will